It might be based on how you guys record, but it seems there is no sound coming from the game. I might recommend you guys turn on subtitles if possible.
Okay.
This was a mistake. I'm sorry. We fixed it. We reposted the episode. We do have sound. And I promise there will be no more technical difficulties.
Is it just me or the game audio doesn't match up? Is it just me or is the game audio not matched with the video? It's not synced. Last step was like... I'm sorry if you don't sound like this. I'm just doing a different voice. It's not synced. The last step was like that as well. I'm not trying to make you sound nerdy. I'm just differentiating.
It's not synced. Okay. Well,
we'll fix it.
I'm going to re-upload them all so that the 4th episode is good. And these first 3 will be re-uploaded. So all your comments are going to get deleted. Sorry.
But we do want you to know that we take your feedback very, very deadly seriously here at Goldwynn Dinner Club. And furthermore, you feel free to call the manager at any time. Go full Karen. Go Karen. Yeah. We encourage it. Because
our manager is super mean to us.
While you go Karen, we'll go caring. Because we care that much.
The world's solved. Never in my life I thought I'd sit down and watch 2 fully grown men argue about chicken finger.
Then you don't know us very well at all.
We continue that argument off record.
Grif and I could argue about anything for days. And the funny thing is, doesn't affect our friendship at all. It only makes it stronger because it adds to the mythos and the lore.
Well, then it does affect it.
Oh, but in a good way, or maybe just in a lateral way.
In a lateral.
I think that's what I mean. It's neither negative nor positive, but there is an effect in that more things are to be said about it. Parker, represent the Smash Bros. The outcome's always the same. That's my impression of you. Translation? I always lose. That's right. That's exactly what it means. And to be fair, you're not roasting him. That's what Grif was saying. He was saying.
Well, first of all, I do win sometimes.
Yes,
that's
true.
In fact, when we recorded the Ken episode, I beat you like 6 times, and then we realized we weren't recording the video. And then everything we did record, you won all of them.
Yes. So, Grif is a very capable player, but I think speaking of that exchange on Mario Kart...
you know what?
Well done. That was a nice
You know what we're going to do that you're going to hate? And I'm going to announce it here so that you have to do it.
Oh, no.
Do you know what I'm good at?
What are you good at?
Final Destination, no items. That was how I played it as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
That was how I got good at it.
You think you're good? Didn't I beat your Captain Falcon with a Pichu?
Well, they're items. I'm really not good at picking up items.
Next time,
if you watch those episodes, you'll see that I'm really bad at
you're
picking
right.
up items.
You are right. You're right. And I should not.
How many times has like an assist trophy have I grabbed it, and like it took so long for me to grab it, you were able to grab it out from under me.
Yes, you're right.
That's
next
the most common thing.
Next time we're gonna do it. We're gonna do Final Destination, no items.
Grif is mean to babies confirmed. True.
That's not true. I'll tell you, Grif is wonderful.
You don't know what I'm like around babies.
I actually do. You're wonderful. But you also have no desire to be around them. And that's fair. I think most people don't. Babies, they are the joy and the beauty of life. They are spring made reality and the eternal cosmic ballet. But they also poop their pants and they scream a lot.
See, what you experience is that I'm just quietly judgmental of babies.
Just curious, what are your thoughts on animated web series like Hell of a Boss? It's insane how talented these independent creators are, and I was wondering how different it is to make something like that compared to with a network. Well, I will say that when it comes to... there's a lot of independently made animation going around right now, and I respect and admire the people who make that stuff so deeply because it's hard wrangling a team even with all the resources in the world. So imagine what it's like just being one person or a few people or a small group of people trying to get a whole team to coordinate over the internet to make this whole thing. Like, it's a different beast. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Anybody who does that obviously has all of my respect and admiration. Like, keep doing it. You're amazing. Hopefully the people with all the money in the world notice that and give you what you're worth, because clearly you can do it. And please keep doing it. I think all that stuff is a gift.
Grif starting Resident Evil Village is a wonderful birthday gift for me and my BF, even if the sound was off for the first time around.
Well, happy birthday to you, and
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you and your boy.
We hope you have a good time. We hope that you enjoy. Hey!
And we hope that you enjoy.
No and. We hope you have a good time. We hope that you enjoy.
We hope that you enjoy. Okay. Happy
birthday to you and your boy. We hope you have a good time. We hope that you enjoy. Hey! Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Congrats.
On completing A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You know what? I've played that game a million times. I think we talked about it before, but it was so frustrating for me in between records because I just wanted to be playing it. But it was fun. Thank you for the congratulations. Thank you for watching all the way if you did. I know it was kind of a long playthrough, but for those of you who were new to the game or who enjoyed the series, let us know. And if any of you out there are like, I want to play it now, and you do play it and you use any of the things you learned, please let us know. I'm curious.
I got a bet. Can you do polls on YouTube? I want to see how many people who watched it have already played that game.
That's a good question. I don't think we have the community tab yet since we're not officially partners, but once we are, we're going to be much more interactive there.
Because I would watch it as someone who's played it before. Because I'd be like, oh, I love this game. I want to sit here and just be nostalgic and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people watch it, especially because our titles are weird. I don't feel like a lot of people watched it like, oh, how do you beat this dungeon?
That's true, but I'm just curious. We'll see. Grif wanting to yeet the baby will always be hilarious to me. It did, it never got old. I think it's because there's no maliciousness in it. It just was what it was. He's like, what can I do?
Just quietly judging that baby and its hyper realistic CG face.
If you're a game designer, I feel like Grif is your nightmare. I feel like he wants to immediately, as soon as he turns on the game, he wants to go in whatever the opposite, his instincts are the opposite.
Yeah.
Of which, by the way, as a designer.
Which, by the way, have you ever seen the movie Ready Player One?
No.
So the first Easter egg that they find is that there's a race at the beginning. There's a race that everyone has to do. And if you win the race, you'll get the Easter egg, apparently.
And is it behind the starting line?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Would have been the first.
You know what? You and me, bro. You know why? Because we played Donkey Kong Country.
Well, also, because the first level.
We know. You go back.
Yeah, and also just every time I've played Grand Theft Auto, every race I've ever been in, there's always one troll who does that. I'm like, someone would have done that the first race.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's always going to be, with games, people love to push the limits of whatever it is, the world that you've made. There's always going to be someone poking at the edge, which is why The Matrix is such an interesting concept, but also I think they get it because there are times where they're like, oh yeah, we've had 1,000 iterations of this. People kept breaking it. We found that the best version was the late 90s, where everything seemed like it was going to go bad, but it didn't really. So there was a lot that people were kind of negative, but also mostly positive about, and everyone was in a nice general malaise, so nothing went wrong. And I'm like, that's exactly right. People are always going to poke at the edges of anything you put on them. It's that old George Carlin bit, right? It's like, you got people who will believe, in an invisible will that guides them. But you put a sign on a bench that says, wet paint, do not sit, and they got to touch it just to make sure. Just to be sure it's really wet. So, yeah, I think it's human nature, but Grif is all the way human. Yeah, so he's going to break your game. I guess in a way that makes you the perfect...
If I'm in your house, I'll press buttons.
Oh, yeah. I think it makes you the perfect person to test a game, actually, because you're going to actually test it. Whereas I'll be a good law-abiding citizen, and I will just play your game the way it is intended, and you will learn nothing because I'll do it exactly the way you want it.
I have a lot of friends in the animation industry who use game beta testing to supplement like their like in between jobs, and all of them told me it sucks. Every single one of them told me it's the worst.
Nobody who does that job enjoys it because because it probably doesn't pay much, but even if it did,
it doesn't. No, it's the minimum wage.
Ruins your enjoyment of games because entire job is doing repetitive tasks over and over.
Yeah. You don't need to be you don't need to know programming or anything to be a beta tester. They just want like a body to play it, and they'll give you assignments like jump in place like 1,000 times and see if anything goes wrong. And it's like, and they just want you to report it in so that they can have the programmers go back in later. And that just sounds like, and also like the games that they all said they were playing were like Dora the Explorer counting game and stuff. And so it's like not even games I actually like was curious to play. It's not like you get early access to like Assassin's Creed or something.
That's an interesting thing to bring up, though. The idea that the, kind of mindless repetition of a task that you generally enjoy can ruin it for you. I wonder if there are other sort of analogs. I guess there are people who are like, chefs probably don't like to go home and just cook family dinner.
You see, I don't believe that, because I feel like, when it's like being an animator, like we
do the same
all
thing
day.
over and over and over, and I never get tired of it.
But in our free time, we draw. In our free time, we just draw what we want to draw because we still love drawing.
Yeah.
It's just that like you don't want to have to draw the thing that you're being paid to draw anymore.
And some people still do, though. Some people still do, and they're the
I totally do too. Yeah, I've totally done fan art for shows that I'm currently working on. But like, yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just having, if it's a job, it's a job.
A job's a job, mate. You do the job, and you do the job. Grif, if you come into my house, you don't.
Oi, mate, Bobbins, you got a chimney up your trousers.
You come back to my secret villainous hideout, and you don't bring my cut of the money. I'm gonna smash your teeth in, mate.
My favorite thing in the world is finding out that Dick Van Dyke's accent in Mary Poppins is considered the worst British accent in the history of film.
It's, there are definitely worse.
Yeah, I watched a thing where a bunch of English celebrities were all like asked, "What's the worst British accent you've ever seen an American do?" And every single one said Dick Van Dyke.
It's famously Dick Van Dyke because he pushes it and he's like, what is he saying? Today I'm a screever, and as you can see, a screever's an artist of highest degree. It's like that. I've heard worse than that, but it's where you go, he's like, Mary Poppins, as I live in I'd know that silhouette anywhere. It's like, okay, pull it back, Dick. Pull it back. But it's brilliant. One thing, do you know that song, it's so odd in that movie, Jolly Holiday, right? It's a jolly holiday with Mary. That song, right? That's just like Bert trying to kind of flirt with Mary a little bit because he likes her. But in that song, when she starts singing, this went over my head as a kid. I'm like, oh, this is just kind of a pointless, meandering song that has nothing. It really does have nothing to do with the journey of like the Banks family, or really even Mary as she relates to them. It's a complete side story about like, what is Bert and Mary's deal? And so Bert is saying, Mary makes the sunshine bright. Every moment with her is heaven. I love her. I wish I could be with her all the time. He's laying it on. I
wish we could dance with these penguins inside the sidewalk.
Well, hold on, because that's a big part of that. Actually, all of this has meaning, but it's so weird and it goes over your head as a kid. But if you watch it as an adult, it's kind of filthy and it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. So he sings all this about how great Mary is, and they're dancing, and then they get on the bridge, and Mary starts singing, right? And she goes, "It's a jolly holiday with you, Bert. Gentlemen like you are few." And he's like, "Quite right." And he's sort of looking. She goes, "Though you're just a diamond in the rough, Bert. Underneath your blood is blue." And he's like, "True." And he's sort of looking around. And he's like, "Oh, cool. So my flirting is working." She goes, "You'd never think of pressing your advantage." He starts looking around like, "What?" "Forbearance is the hallmark of your creed." And he's like, Sort of, you watch his face. He's like, what are you saying? A lady needn't fear when you are near. Your sweet gentility is crystal clear. So she's saying, you wouldn't think about flirting with me. You wouldn't think about trying to come on with me, Bert, because you're a gentleman and you're royal. And furthermore, not only would you never think to do it, it would never happen because you're such a nice guy. And his face is just he looks crushed, but then the next thing he does is start singing about all the ladies he's been with before. When he starts dancing with a penguin, he's like, they say that Millicent's charming and so-and-so's thrilling. He starts naming like 10 different girls, and Mary's got to look like, come on, dude. You gonna do me like this? So it's the weirdest, like he's flirting with Mary. Mary shuts him down and says, you're a wonderful friend and you seem nice. And he's like, do you know how many girls I've been with? I'm like, what? What is this? Why is this in a children's movie? But when you watch it through that lens, it's kind of a funny scene. I don't know. It's messed up too. I'm like, these two do not have a good relationship here.
I just gotta say, I want to put you in a helicopter and fly you over a city you've never been. I bet you could draw the map of that city after one flyover. It is insane how well you remember things. You remember every lyric from one song from a movie that came out 70 years ago.
That's because I love that movie and we had to watch it all the time. One last thing. I'd recommend, if you haven't seen Mary Poppins, watch it. But it's like 5 hours long. That movie is your day. When you pop in Mary Poppins, it ain't popping out. That's Mary will not pop out. That is the last movie of the day. It's done. That's like a Christmas morning. That's like an Easter. That's like a spring break. That's like, you know what? The kids are a little bored. Well, if you were millennials, like I don't think Zoomers could stand it for a minute. I think as soon as Admiral Boom comes on and he's like, oh, blah, 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 and a cannon pops out of the house, they'd be like, nah. And walk outside, get on their phone, and watch literally anything on YouTube. But back in the day, it's what we had. And they're wonderful songs, you know what I mean? I think while I see your point, what it presumes is that I haven't watched that movie a million times and that I don't love it. Anyway, coming up the rest of this week, we got some more Resident Evil Village coming your way. Of course, we're going to have to do Final Destination at some point, but I will say it's... Oh, and God, you already saw us play a little Mario Kart. That was weird. It was different. But it has been quite a week. And I'm glad that I spent it with you, Grif. And I'm glad that you're here with me now.
Good times shared by all.
At the bar.
And everything's going to be okay.